Welcome back, everyone, to Be the Trader. Today, I have a very special episode. I did an event with Traders for a Cause, which, if you don't know what that is, they're about giving back to charities and gathering traders together to provide great information for donations to help other charities prosper and help others. And Be the Trader community is all about giving back and helping change the trading community for the better. So I had to do it. It's my second time on the show with them. It was such a pleasure, but I wanted to share this interview I did with Humble Trader, aka Shay. Check it out. I hope you enjoy it. And don't forget, share the show with your friends and family. Take care. A lot of people may not know, but just in case you don't know, you need to go check out Shay right now, or not right now, obviously, but like after this conversation, check her out because she provides some great content, as we mentioned before, on YouTube. And she has a great story too, which we talked about on Be the Trader on that show. But right now, today, Shay, what we really want to do is kind of get a pulse of where things are today, where things are currently for you, because, there's some traders out there who are still rocking it, right? And then there's some traders who are not doing too hot right now. So I'm just curious where you are at in your journey at this moment.
I think it's all like relative. If I was to compare how I'm doing compared to 2020 summer or fall or even January, I'm doing a lot worse. Definitely, just because there's less gappers on scan, there's less stocks running, and there's less follow through. I feel like so if I was to compare from January or last year, it's a lot worse. But you have to be like realistic if I compare how I'm doing right now as opposed to the regular summers, like the 2019 summers, or just how the market is before the pandemic showed up. I think it's relatively like normal.
That's interesting you say that, because that perspective is everything, right? Because if you're judging yourself off of, hey, it's been fire, then you might be really beating yourself up right now. Have you ever found yourself in the past doing that, where you were like, it's been so hot, I should be here because it was such a great, month or week last week? Were you ever in that predicament in the past where it kind of affected you?
Yeah, I think I think about that like every day actually. But I think it's one thing knowing that and one thing letting it affect your trading. So I think I know that, I'm aware of that. But you can't really make the market give you what you want. So I'm okay with things slowing down a little bit. It's actually kind of healthy too, I think, to kind of like slow things down a little bit. And you're just trying to take the opportunity and make the best of it, of what's presented every single day. So I think it's a better mindset to kind of acknowledge that, yeah, you might not be doing as hot as you were last month, but that's the reality, right? You get kind of paid by opportunity, not really paid by just showing up every day.
Explain that. I think
it's okay. Yeah.
Explain that a little more, because we have people probably watching who might be newer in their journey, right? And you made a good point of how you don't make money just working hard, right? In terms of like pressing buttons all day, it's more of like sometimes you might want to sit back, and it's a little different from the work world, right? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, this is something I kind of say to the people I trade with every day. You pick your battles. I think you pick whether you want to trade a stock that's micro floats, or whether you want to trade in a direct listing with no resistance and no support levels. Like if you choose to trade those things and you have trouble with it, then sadly you kind of brought it onto yourself. So one story I can tell is yesterday. Yesterday was Friday. I avoided ANVS, not because I didn't want to trade it, because it was really stupid, but I almost set my house on fire yesterday morning. Oh my God, it was so bad. So anyways, and that was like 5 o'clock in the morning here in Vancouver. So I almost had a heart attack. And then I came back. I was still here for the open. I just, I don't think I can handle a low float today after all that's happened. So I think you choose your battle. I think if I traded AMVS, I would have gotten squeezed, first of all. So I know how I trade. I would have gotten squeezed on the short side. I'll try to go long. But that was the stock that just kept on going higher with no pullback. Mm-hmm. I think it's very hard to go long like that. So So I think I know how I trade. So I think you really choose your battles, and you choose whether you are in the right mindset and the right situation to trade certain stocks. If you want to trade, $2, $1 stocks that move 20 cents in the summer, that's fine. But you just kind of need to be aware that it's not going to be the same trading style and it's not going to trade the same way as the regular small cap gappers that we saw in January.
Yeah, and you also said something that's very interesting that kind of stood out to me. It's how you almost set your house on fire, not the details of that, but how you change your mindset, right? Because a lot of people are listening and they may have a bad day or bad morning, or yesterday was horrible, or something happened, they got a call right before the market opened, and then they trade anyway with that mindset, right? Can you explain like why? I know you have a lot more experience now, so of course you kind of saw, you know what, I may not want to trade this right now because of what just happened and the stress level I'm at. Can you elaborate on why you decided that? Like, has something happened in the past?
Yeah, I think after, at least after 2 years of trading, any trader would have, hopefully, a good understanding of what he or she, what they are good at in terms of trading, and what kind of trading setups just come more naturally. So for me, trading low floats, it's something, if I choose to trade it, I have to zone in on that stock and just look at that chart and that, L2 and the tape, and just stare at the chart. I couldn't do anything else. So I know that's a very high intensity and high, not that if you trade other things, you don't need to focus, but this is the kind of thing that would take the entire of my morning and all of my energy and concentration. And the other stocks, I think there were other stocks like SPCE and a couple other ones. But I am more familiar with those tickers. Not saying they're easy. They're not easy to trade at all, but I'm familiar with the way they trade. I don't think there's anything that could surprise me. So I think that's what I mean by, if I choose to trade a low floats, anything could happen, right? I could get dumped on, I can get squeezed. So I think you really choose what you are better at trading. If it was a Monday and I'm excited to trade, then I think I'll trade a low float because I'm more energy, I can 100% focus on it. But on a Friday where I know I don't trade well on Fridays, I don't, and I almost caused a fire in my apartment. So, oh my God, that was a trip.
That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy.
My God, it was
what's
terrible.
Interesting is you highlighted really good things. Like, you got to know what you're good at, know what
for sure
attracts you. And I think a lot of people tend to hear Nate, hear any other trader who pops up on here, you, and they're like, I got to do this, I got to trade this way. And the reality is, over, like you said, 2 years, you'll start to get a feel of what attracts you. And you'll look at things that you want to trade, because we as humans recognize patterns. Like, we recognize things. That's just something we do. And I think it's really important that you listen to what Shay just said, and that is go back, and over time, over years, you'll be like, you know what, this always stands out. Start tracking that. Start, maybe dabbling in it. And Shay, I wanted to ask you something too. I thought, and I could be wrong here, I thought you were like, I didn't really want to trade that ticker because of how taxed I was from the potential fire outburst, because the emotional aspect, right? Like, you're already exhausted from here, that this could be more exhausting here. It's just like taxing, right? Like, for example, like if I got in a fight with my wife, which, occasionally if you're married, if you say you don't ever get in a fight with your wife, you're lying. But if you occasionally get in a fight or a little argument, that can affect me the next day, right? In my trading. So can you explain, was that what you meant too? Or no, not at all? Am I off base?
I think that's a small part. Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it too. I think in the past where I had issues with my, I was going to say real life, issues in my real life, then I don't trade well, because I think, maybe I'm not the only one doing this, but I tend to punish myself by trading bad. Not saying that I do that purposefully, but if I was at fault with fighting, like you said, fighting with a spouse, not that I have a spouse, but if I was fighting with somebody in real life, and I feel bad about it, and I think in the past I have punished myself by Purposefully trading bad. I know it sounds negative, sounds really bad, but I think it's something that we do unconsciously. Yeah, or I would just like not follow stops. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
The worst that can happen is AMVS if you short it in the open. That's the worst that can happen.
That would be pretty
And if
horrible.
you're curious on what we're talking about, AMVS was yesterday, and it's May 21st was yesterday, so go check that out if you watch this later, because I know Zach does a great job on, number one, if you don't know, you better be donating, because you got to help out the cause, and then number two, if you do, I believe Zach does put packages together later, and you can always rewatch everything. But Shay, you also mentioned something that when you re-looked at AMVS, you said, I know I probably would have lost, or I probably would have squeezed. And I love it you said that, because with your experience, you look at it from a point of view of how what you really would have done. Whereas a lot of traders will do the opposite. They'll be like, oh, I miss AMVS. It was a great short at 90s and it dropped all the way to whatever, 80, 60, whatever it did. I would have nailed it. Like that hindsight perfect trade.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by I know I would have lost? Could you explain that mindset you had?
I think usually the people who say things like, "Oh, I would have nailed it," in hindsight. I mean, to be fair, like I used to do that in year one. I would always wish I had caught the runner. Oh, I would have bought it at $1 and held it all the way to 10. No, but I think with experience, you're more realistic about you. Like it's kind of similar as what I said earlier. It's you know yourself. You know how you trade. You know your bad habits. You know your strength. And you know how you would enter the stock, whether it's long or short. So in hindsight, looking at the chart on AMVS, I see a lot of entry points for where I would have bought and where I would have shorted or sold. So I think it's kind of like reverse engineering your setups. And I think it's something that's actually like really beneficial to do. Especially if you're a new trader, kind of save the charts, save them, save the date, save the ticker, and then kind of annotate the charts. Even though, yes, it is in hindsight, you don't make money from trading in hindsight. But then I think that it's actually beneficial to kind of review how you would have traded it, where you would have stopped out, where you would have entered or exited. So that's kind of something I do, not like purposefully these days, but I do save the charts still, and I do review, okay, this is how I probably would have traded it. And you have to be realistic with yourself. Like I see the chart, I see like me losing money on that. So I'm just being realistic. That's how I would have traded it.
And that's so important to know, because a lot of people, they look at it in hindsight in the different perspective of I would have done it perfectly, and then they beat themselves up. So I'm glad you shared that, because it just shows that you're honest with yourself that, hey, I probably would have lost here, and I'm so happy that I made the decision not to trade it, because I know it might have been taxing for me, and the history of the chart wasn't really there for you. So you also brought up the whole idea of you would take annotations, you would take pictures of charts.
Yeah.
At the beginning of that, because you said, mainly you used to take pictures now, but maybe not so much as purposefully of annotating and deconstructing. But at the beginning of your journey, when you start to find consistency in your own stuff, how did you go about doing that process of, charting and tracking? Did you do anything that was a little different than you do now? Because obviously you're a little bit more tenure. What did you do at the beginning?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of actually doing the tracking and then annotating and writing down notes, like physically, not making it too convenient to do it on computer. So this is what I recommend people to do. Save the charts. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but like, hear me out. Save the charts, save the daily and the intraday together. So it's like a one giant picture, print them out. Yes, with a printer, not printer. What is that? Print them out, and you can buy one of those pens where you can draw on the black image or the black background, and you annotate on them physically with a pen. I know with a pen, and you draw the lines on your rulers, and you kind of physically draw all the levels. That's what I used to do. I used to have a whole bullet board of that beside my computer in my year 1 and year 2, and just tons of different pictures, tons of different charts, and tons of lines and notes that I take. I do find that if you physically written out the notes and drawn out the levels, and kind of you remember more of what you actually wrote because you actually physically did that. But if you're just typing it, that's fine. Like nothing wrong with that. You type your notes or whatever. I think at least for me, I remember less of what I typed. So that's something that helped a lot. And also like physically, you can see the charts beside your computer as you're trading. You compare what you see on the charts, you print it out with the platform or the stock you're trading on. I think that's a very nice visual comparison right there in real life.
Did you do that right away, like when you first started, or is that something that kind of just came up later on? You're at the beginning. Like, was that the first thing you did when you first started trading? Like, hey, I'm gonna print out these charts. I'm just curious because I never even thought about doing that.
Oh, wait, like I think I started doing that at the end of year 1.
Okay.
But I was not that smart when I first started trading. I wish. No, when I first started, I was busy copying chat room alerts. No, I was not that not smart.
And speaking of that, it's all good. And speaking of that, you said you're busy chasing chat room alerts because we all did that. Like I don't know about all, but I did too at the beginning, and that held me back for the longest period. And now I'm curious. Was it just the separation of chat rooms for yourself for that brief moment that helped you really get more of a clear head to try new things, of printing things out? Like, can you explain that separation whenever you kind of like get away from chat rooms for that brief period, how it helped you and what it helped you do, or what really struck your mind when you did that?
I think there's nothing wrong with chat rooms. Like I think I mentioned before, I stay in the chat rooms to kind of read what people are talking about and how they think. But I think where things started to like slowly change for me is when I did the work myself, right? Because if you're reading other people's chat room comments, that's fine. But I'm not really, I think I needed to write it down. And then after I started writing those down on like a notepad, I realized, okay, you know what? If I write these down, I also want to have the charts to compare with them. So that's where I started printing them out. So it kind of, as I did more for myself, like physically, I write them out, print them out. As I did more of those things, you start to retain more of what you see on the charts and the knowledge you gained and what people said in the commentary in the chat rooms. Like you start to know more and you retain more. I think if you just kind of, read what people are saying on the forums or whatever chat rooms, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think you don't connect that together as you are trading in real time as much because you don't draw from memory as fast that way.
That makes sense. And I like that you shared that because I'm not an avid reader, but I read quite a bit. And I've read a couple of books where they talk about writing, physically doing it is better. So I just hate writing. So I love that you shared that idea because I'm sure people out here are like, maybe I should try that. And maybe they will. Yeah. And if you gain any value from Shay sharing a lot of this knowledge, make sure to do what you can to donate to Traders for a Cause, because like I said, and I know Shay agrees, we are here to provide value to help as much as we can. And if you get any value from any speaker out there, please do what you can and give back and be a trader that helps change the trading community for the better. Do what you can to do that. And Shay, I must ask you something because you made a good point. You said you stayed in the rooms and you got some value of it. So talk about how you can take advantage of trading rooms in terms of like what you did to take advantage of them in the positive way.
I think the negative would be following the alerts. That would be the negative. But the positive would be if people talk about like their thesis. Oh, I like to buy this stock ABC at support, and they mention there's a support area they're watching, let's say $3. And then I'll look at, okay, what do they see at $3? And I'll look at my own chart, like without trading it myself. I'll just look at it and I'll say, okay, like he's saying that, oh, he or she is saying that, oh, it's consolidating, it's starting to break out, and volume is increasing. And I'll look at the volume, oh, okay, it's actually doing that in real life. Oh my God, this is cool. I never looked at so many factors before. So you kind of read and you kind of cross-reference that with what's happening on your own broker execution, broker chart, but without actually trading it. But it kind of gives you, like, from reading what people see and how they're thinking at entry point, where they're putting their risk and where their profit target is potentially. I think it really helps to kind of reinforce and build your own kind of little like routine and the things you check before you enter the trade. I think for a lot of new traders, and myself included, it used to just be, oh, stock ABC, buy at $5, and I click buy, and after enter 5. That's it. Like I don't think I ever spent, when I was new, I looked at the charts, look at how the stock is trading, look at the volume. Like it used to be just on the buy button. Yeah. So I think it's just like it's more, you notice more nuance as you read people's commentary, and you notice more I think it's another thing that's important is you see people say, oh, I don't want to trade a stock because of XYZ. So I think that's an important one, where kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, you need to know what kind of stocks you shouldn't be trading. So that was a new thing for me too, when I realized, oh, there's stocks that you shouldn't trade. Oh, oh, really? Oh, why? Why would people avoid this? It looks so good. Oh, it's only trading 2,000 volume on the day. Wow, I did not realize that.
That's a good point.
So I think that's a very important thing.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point, because it's so true. Like you might see something that looks beautiful on the chart, looks beautiful, maybe even has news. And maybe it has fundamentals if you're a fundamentals trader, but there's like no volume, and you're trying to day trade it, right? So like that could be boring. That could be a waste of your capital, miss a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, real quick. I wanted to ask you something, because we talked offline, and we talked about aha moments, and I wanted to ask you this for the benefit of everyone watching today. Is there any aha moments that stick out to you that really helped you in your first 2 years of trading?
I think it's not like a singular moment. I think those moments, or like these little things, like I said, the note taking, the printout stuff, the reading what other people are saying instead of buying what they're saying, and then take more time to think and check multiple factors before you buy the stocks. I think those are the little moments, and especially risk management, of course. But at the time that you are doing it, it would seem very insignificant. Yeah, everything always looks clearer in hindsight. Like, who was it? Like Steve Jobs had this famous line of, oh, all the dots in your life or whatever, they only connect in hindsight after you've done them. So it's only many years later, looking back, I'm very glad I did those things. And now you're asking me what would the moments, the aha moments would be. I think those will be the moments. But at the time, it's not going to be clear. At the time, it seems like a waste of time, waste of paper, because I'm printing so much on my printer. I'm just killing trees. And then, so it doesn't make sense back then, and it would seem like you're wasting a lot of time for nothing, because you're not gonna see instant results the next day.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it's like hard to see
the
nugget until time has passed. Pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think those will be the series of aha moments. And they're all the things that it sounds like really annoying, sounds like a lot of work to do, but it's very worth it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And one thing that I wanted to ask you as well, though, is what about your most difficult personal challenge? Like your most difficult personal challenge that's maybe not like drawing charts, maybe it's not even trading related, but it really helped you with your trading when you were able to conquer whatever it may be, or whatever, deal with XYZ. Was there any moment or any part of your life during your trading career that was holding you back in some way that you were able to overcome? I think
I think I want to say sizing. That's an interesting question. I think the first thing that came up to mind is sizing. Like I didn't know what when I found out about this. That this was a realization for me at least. I realized that I can put more size on the setups I am more comfortable with, and the ones that's not as great that I know that I'm not good at. If I still choose to trade them, I should trade with less size. I think that's a big thing, and that's not something that I know a lot of people talk about. But that's a new thing for me at the time where, so you're saying that I should put less shares if I'm trading this setup that I know only has a 50-50 chance of working, and the upside is maybe just 1 to 2, then I'll still trade it, but with less risk, with less share size. So I think that would be one. That's a very interesting question, but I think you should, like in your head, you should know the kind of setups that you're better at. You can capitalize on the most and use the most risk on those, and the other ones maybe half of it or a quarter of it. I think that really helped me personally.
Okay, and I wanted to find out about what do you plan to do to ensure your future in your trading, like making it sure that it's successful here going forward.
I think just do what I've been doing for the last 6 or 7 years. I think I'm not really an advocate for trying to change things if it's already working. Yeah, so I don't I think if you think about there's two ways to think about your question, right? One way is to always think like very optimistically and about I think tomorrow will be more or less similar, or maybe just a little bit more exciting than today. Then I just trade the same thing and do the same things until it stops working. And the other way would be always kind of trading in fear that, oh my God, tomorrow might be the day I blow up, or tomorrow, if I don't change things up, I won't survive trading. I think I'm the first one. I'm more of a glass that's half full kind of person. So I think I'm just going to keep on doing this until it doesn't work. Then when it stops working, then I'll adapt and change things up. But until then, I think it's important to just keep on doing what you're doing. This is why I never really had a strong interest in trying to diverge into other things like cryptos, options, or forex. Just because if it's working, trading stocks and trading the kind of stocks I do, I want to keep on doing this.
Before we start to wrap this up, I wanted to ask one more thing, and that was, do you feel like, was there a moment in your 6 years of trading that you were thinking this way, and then you did have to change because something happened, or like, man, it's not working at this time?
I think it was, I forgot what year it was, but it was a long time ago. I started trading options, and then it was a horrible idea. So that's why I that's why I think twice before I do so. I know it works for some people, trading options. That's great. If it works, you should keep on doing it. But for me, I was losing like so much on the options because I didn't. It's hard to manage risk. I know people do it. I know they do it fine, and they do better at trading options than stocks. That's fine. But for me, it did not work. I didn't like to have to think about the expiry dates and the premium and all the Greeks. So I lost a lot doing that. So that's where I was like, you know what, diversifying is not a good idea for me.
I love. What's interesting about that is a lot of your personal, I see you already gave it away, personal, like all your personal rules, like the rules that you go by are catered to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so many traders will listen to this, and I made this mistake, okay, so many times. So I'm not talking about anyone specifically, but me personally, I would listen to traders that I looked up to, and I'd be like, oh, these rules, I got to stick by these rules 100%. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I started to realize that those are rules for them. Whereas what they mean when traders say have trading rules, they don't mean copy me and my trading rules. They mean figure out what works for you, create rules, because you trade different from me, from Shay, from Nate, from Zach, from all of these traders who are going to be here. You know what your weaknesses are. And Shay's mentioned that quite a few times. Like, I knew my weaknesses. I knew on AMVS, I wouldn't be able to do that. I know on options, that's not going to work for me. And so she's made rules that work for her to help her stay consistent, to help her continue to grow and thrive, right? So you need to take this away. That's the biggest takeaway for me personally, is always have rules for yourself to protect you from you, to make sure that you know what you're already good at, you know what you're attracted to. So focus there and create rules around there. It's okay to, try new things. Like you were saying, you went to options, you tried something new, you realized it wasn't for you. Now you have a rule. Yeah. That's the same thing when you're new. As she mentioned at the beginning, she was in chat rooms following things, and then she changed. Like, okay, here's my rule. I'm gonna look at commentary and learn from it, not trade from it. I'm going to start printing out charts. So she started doing things and having rules for herself. So thank you so much for sharing that, Shay. And that's pretty much all we have for today, Zach. Unless you have anything you want to add.
That was fantastic. You guys are so real. I can understand both of your YouTube appeals. Just because, like, you guys just keep it so real, and it's so cool to, hear from people in the trenches. Shay, magnificent. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And I know you're up in Canada, but maybe we can, if we go back to Vegas, do you think you might be able to come down and join us when it's allowed?
Yeah, when it's allowed, and after I get my second shot, then
of course. Well, this would be potentially in October, so I think we'd be in good shape at that point.
That'll be fun.
All right, fantastic. Thank you both very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.